we go. Hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike, Steve, and Dave. Boys, good to see you. Mike, how's it going? We know you have a little story to tell, so we would love for you to tell
Yeah,
your
Mike, there's
your
something different about you. I just can't quite put my finger on it.
yeah. Can't put my digits quite there.
Well,
How are you phalange tonight?
I'm flanging. I'm flanging quite well.
That's a verb. It feels like you say that and it feels bad, right? It feels like you shouldn't be saying that word. It shouldn't be a verb.
I don't know. I've been saying it for 20 something years. So,
Phalanging.
anywho, yeah, for those who don't know, in Wicked Spursy land, we have a vase that's like a fish bowl that we use as a fish bowl.
A
Um,
vase. Is it
yeah,
French?
my mother-in-law about a year ago bought the kids, beta fish. You know, the whatever they call them, the Siamese fighting fish or whatever, what the fuck they used to call them. Um, and obviously they can't be in the same tank together, so we don't have a tank. We have two vases that
Boss.
double as fish bowls. So of course, as children don't, they don't take care of the fish other than to feed them. So it's left up to myself and Amy to, usually me, to clean the fish bowl. So I was sick and tired of seeing this, and I said on Saturday, I was like, you know what? Got a little time before Lucas's training starts. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the fish bowl. So I cleaned out Lily's fish bowl, and then I got to Lucas's fish bowl, and I got it almost all the way down. I was rinsing it off, and I pulled it out, and I was holding it
That's
by the
what I'm
top and
sorry.
the bottom, and it dropped out of my hand because it was wet and slippery. So
So
as
many
I
that's what
was,
she says in that entire description.
yeah,
So many.
Just gonna take a sip of my beer
it's not
here.
going to
There you
end
go.
either. So what happens here is that it drops out of my hand, and I went to catch it, and of course it smashes in the sink because the sink is made of stone, and as it smashed, my hand went right down onto it, and it sliced 3/4 of my finger all the way down to the bone. So my finger is kind of hanging off, and I screamed like a fucking lunatic. And my wife is like, "What is wrong with you?" And I screamed right at her. I was like, "I've lost my finger. I've lost my finger." And she goes, and as usual, she's just like, "Oh my god, let me see." So she comes out into the kitchen. She's like, "Oh, okay, get your shoes on." As I'm running around, blood just spurting out of my hand. I mean, there was blood everywhere. It's
Like
like,
a Monty Python movie, right?
yeah, it was just a flesh wound. Uh, um, so yeah, went to the hospital. I have no feeling in my finger. I got my finger stitched up. Today I used all my contacts. Sorry for those of you who don't have contacts in the hospital, but I did call in some favors from the orthopedic surgeons that I work with. Um, and I got in on Wednesday for a consult, and I'll probably be having surgery next week.
Oh, really? So what will the
Yeah,
surgery, what will the purpose of that be?
reattach nerve endings and ablate, to basically burn off the end of one of the nerves that's causing me a lot of pain right now.
Exciting. Exciting.
Yeah. So like this doctor does, he's a shoulder joint guy, and and he's a hand specialist, so he does like microsurgery in hands.
You have tiny hands?
I have tiny nerves in my tiny hands.
You and
I've
Donald
got
Trump
like
both have
I,
tiny
I have
hands.
giant palms and little tiny fingers,
Very
sausage
nice.
fingers.
Well,
But
Mike,
yeah, other than that, man,
I'm glad all 10 digits are still attached to you.
I can still bend, and
Yeah.
I barely missed the tendon. You could see it through the through the wound. It was gross.
Now,
But
does that gross you out as a medical person, or are you fascinated by that? Like, is it different when it's you?
no, I
So
mean, I freaked out. I
fascinated by
freaked
it?
the fuck out.
Yeah.
But like now, like I can look at the pictures, and I'm like, oh wow, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, it was a really great weekend. Got to spend some time with. I did miss Lucas's first match of the day. He does a 5v5, and he does 7v7. in another league with another club, another group of kids. So I missed the 5v5 because I was had to go back to the hospital because I had pulled one of the stitches out. So I missed that. He scored 4 goals and a beautiful penalty taken. And then the 7v7 that night, they just destroyed. He had a couple of assists, and that team's super fun to watch. Both teams are really super fun to watch, and I it's like my favorite thing to do is watch my kid play.
Very nice. Very nice. Big Steve, how about you, man? What's going on with you, and what kind of disgusting injuries have you suffered in the past
No
couple
disgusting
days?
injuries on my end. Knock on wood, I guess. Yeah, I mean, not much going on. It was technically a holiday weekend, but only for some people, and
Mhm.
that just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, but whatever. Kid and I, we went to the little aquarium there, Echo. Um, and he had a blast. He was loving all the science stuff that they have there, just checking out every little hands-on activity he could get his hands on. And it's funny, we haven't been there in about a year, so to see him like actually understand how some of these things are working instead of just air blow ball up. He was moving the nozzle around to like see what would happen. It was a lot more interesting to me as a parent to just watch him try and figure things out and see if he could make it work the way that some of the other kids were doing. So that was a good time. I even met up with a friend of the pod, Nikki Winks, there and his
Oh,
little
nice.
one.
Very nice.
But yeah, that was so it's been a pretty long day. My boss started emailing me, and it's like, look, I'm not answering this for another 12 hours. Like, sorry, you're gonna have to wait until working hours before I even bother with this. Um,
So what do you get from Nicky Winks and his family for arranging the marriage? Do
uh,
you get at least like a 3 head of cattle
Right? No,
Yeah,
is there
I'm
dowry
pretty sure
and
I'm
involved?
some
owed
land
it. At
rights?
least it's Vermont too, so I'm pretty sure I'm owed a cow. Like that's minimum.
Right, right.
Um,
I'm just
but
wondering. I need like some backstrap or some beef tenderloin would be nice from
oh
that.
yeah, we'll get you the hookup. That'll be
Friends of the pod.
maybe I'll talk him into a pig for the Wicked Spursy barbecue. We can just
There.
do a whole roast pig or something
Yeah,
on Nicky Wink's dime.
we'll have to do that when they become of marriage age, which is what, 14, 17.
What state are we in?
Uh, hey, Steve,
If this were medieval times.
right. Steve, thinking of the aquarium and learning something. My wife and I watched the other day. Been meaning to watch it for quite a while, never got around to it. On Netflix, My Octopus Teacher. Have either of you guys ever seen My Octopus Teacher?
Oh, can't say I have.
Worth a watch.
I've
Beautiful,
I've been
beautiful
told Saltburn is
footage.
worth a watch, but like
I've been told that too, but boy, that one looks like something
I
else,
don't know if
man.
I can get into it, man.
Yeah, but My Octopus Teacher is very, very cool. It's underwater film stuff. This guy basically just returns to the same spot in the ocean daily for like a year and
Oh wow.
befriends an octopus. As strange as that sounds, it's cool, worth a watch.
Huh.
Nice background at least. So give that a little look.
All right, all right.
Excellent. Will do.
And Netflix, we are accepting sponsorships in the TV and media category. So if you want to,
And given their record with greenlighting just about everything, the official Wicked Spursy sitcom, that could be a thing.
wouldn't
Just
that be cool? We
saying.
could have like a behind the scenes show. I think people would be interested in that.
Do you?
One of those
Totally.
like debriefs where somebody watches or listens to all of Wicked Spursy and then they spend the next hour discussing what we've discussed.
Right?
Oh,
I
that
mean,
would be
think
cool.
about the
That
episode
actually
where
might be cool.
Angry Mike is like frustratedly cleaning his kids' fish bowls and severs his finger off and goes to the hospital multiple times. So that's good television, man.
It's like an all or nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be
people would dig that, no question.
all or nothing. Wicked Spursy.
It's perfect. The 2024 season.
Half of it would be me now angrily like trying to edit.
And then there could be like the Mike picking his beer segment each week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just all the thought that goes into bringing something to the table.
Me turning left off the exit instead of right to go to the store on Monday nights.
Very nice.
Fuck. I gotta
All
get
right,
a beer.
boys. You want to talk a little bit about the football?
There was some football.
There
There
was some
was, wasn't
football.
there?
I'd love to hear your thoughts. I got some thoughts. I did my watch this afternoon. And I'll admit I was not sure what to expect because I heard like positive perspective and I heard negative perspective about it. So I got a perspective too, but I'm curious about yours first. Steve, what do you think, man? What jumped out at you? What'd you see?
I think in this case, I just have to echo a lot of what Big Ange was saying in the post match, and it's just that the team showed immense character, which is not something that we've seen in these last few seasons. And I got to tell you, it's really refreshing to watch a team with actual, honest to God character instead of players that just sort of retreat when things are going against them and they get small and they get timid. Um, we have guys who are here, they're eager to play, they're eager to do well. And when their backs against the wall, they push forward and they assert dominance. And yeah, it doesn't always work out, but it does make things a lot more enjoyable to watch, and it does give me a lot more belief in the team as a whole. So when we went down a goal after like 2.5 minutes, first off, it was, relative, it was a good finish, no doubt about that, but it was relatively lucky to get into that position.
Pub got
Um,
real quiet.
but even then, after 2.5 minutes, I think what everybody at the bar was like, oh, they scored too early, big mistake.
Right.
Um,
It's usually us that does that, right?
yeah, yeah. So, but the confidence there, from all the supporters that I watched the game with, it was still high. Like, oh yeah, no problem. We can do something with this, which is weird considering, if well, frankly, going into the game, seeing Skip and Hoiberg together in midfield didn't really give me a lot of confidence. And it didn't look like it was going to work for a little bit. But, credit where it's due. A lot of the guys, they put in a shift. Or they're not the optimal players in those positions, but they didn't cower away. They didn't diminish their roles. They didn't go invisible. They kept trying and doing what's expected of them. And, coming away with a draw is not the end of the world. Yeah, United kind of sucked for a lot of that match. And frankly, we should have come away with 3 points, but I don't think I can be disappointed with, going to an away match at Old Trafford and just nicking a point there. But there were a lot of positives for me. There's a lot of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, just caveats to the performance, right? Like we saw that there was an illness that was plaguing a lot of them.
Mhm.
Destiny and Skip were feeling unwell and still pushed forward. Decky had to miss out through illness, even though Ange had said that he desperately wanted to play and was training on Saturday, but just got worse as the day went on. Um, but every time I hear Ange or any of the guys talking about the players, it's always, Bentancur showing up. I see the team's in trouble. I need to work. I need to be in there. I need to help out. I need to do this. Romero, I got to push forward. I got to get there. I got to help my team. I'm a captain. I got to, it's just, it's incredible character across the board. And, the one player that I desperately want to talk about um, is Timo Werner,
Mm.
because he was a very I don't know. He was not somebody that everybody was pleased to have. There was a lot of discussion. Oh, well, what did he even do at Chelsea? Oh, he hasn't played at Leipzig. He's not really doing much, right? And so there were question marks over how he would perform. And when I heard about the transfer and that Ange had wanted him and they spoke and all that, I was kind of okay with it, right? If Ange wants him, let's put him in there. And to hear that, this is a guy who like 2 sessions with the team is like, I want to be there. I want to do this. Like, put me in. I'll help out any way I can. Again, it just shows some tremendous character from him as well. And he kind of backed it up a bit. Like, yeah, his shooting was all over the place. I think he had 5 shots and none of them were on target. But the movements that he was making off the ball, the positions he was getting himself into, some of the direction that he was trying to give to the players as to where to, he was pointing where he wanted the ball and what to do. Like it's showing a guy who's he's building his confidence back up and he has belief in himself. And I do believe that with the style of football that Ange plays, that he is going to be a thoroughly great player in this system. And I mean, the biggest evidence that I can point to is his assist for Bentenker's goal. It wasn't a super sexy assist like that skip pass out to Werner, which was
Super,
just
super sexy assist. I like that.
unreal, unreal. But he kept the ball. He moved it around. He got the space. He saw the run. He saw Bentancur calling and pointing where he needed it, and just gave it to him. And in the post match, interview he gave with Evening Standard or something, I don't know. He basically said like, everybody was critiquing me for my goals and my lack of scoring.
Because he can't fucking shoot.
Yeah, but his thing said, in this system,
I mean, it's right. It's rightfully so. Like
I get it,
he hasn't been able to shoot since he stepped
but
foot in England, and it's not going to change. But I agree with you. He did have an impact on the game.
yeah, but the comment that he made was more so like he's not the focal point of goal scoring, right? Like right now, Richarlison's the main guy, so he is under the belief that he can provide much more with his assists until he can, find some scoring for him, and that to me is great mentality from him, right? If my shooting sucks, if I'm not in my groove and I can't get that ball on target, at least I can set somebody else up. I can do the work for the team and provide something to compensate for what I'm lacking right now. And I just loved hearing that from him. I loved the effort that he put in there. And yeah, he was a little bit rusty. He hasn't played, I think, since November 1st or something. But I'm really excited to have him on board. He does seem like he'd be a really solid fit for Ange's system, and I'm curious to see how that plays out over the rest of the season for sure.
I don't think Mike's convinced. Mike, what do you think?
Um, he obviously he's going to be rusty. He's fast as fuck, dude. His first touch is really nice. Um, I really did think he got into some really good positions. He was able to, uh, he was able to bomb down the left side. Um, Received that beautiful pass from Skippy. Um, and we
Sexy pass.
beautiful,
super sexy pass.
super sexy.
Stupid sexy Skippy.
Anywho, yeah, he's not.
There's your episode title.
You've been thinking about that all day. So here's the deal. Here's the thing about what Steve's name today. Every time Timo touched the ball, Steve said, Werner. Even if he was saying it to himself.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with Timo, that like, sure, he cannot shoot. He just can't. I mean,
he shoots better than you do.
Fucking A. Kai Havertz, same situation, right? Like we bring these guys in, and they just cannot get it done from Germany, and they just cannot finish. What he provides though is he provides, you saw it a little bit. He provides a little bit of space in the middle. Any team that's like, and Manchester United was doing it for most of the game. They're backed up into their own box for most of the game. And a guy like that with speed is going to provide a little bit of space, and he's going to take up a defender, maybe sometimes two, and which is why he was able to actually to get that ball into Bentancur. And that wasn't necessarily a super silky or sexy pass, but it was a pass that did a job that we needed to be done at that time. I think Timo's going to be fine. He's going to provide assists, and maybe once he, maybe he's just in a bad mental space, and maybe once he gets over that, he'll end up starting to finish. He's been, like Steve said, he's been with the squad for two training sessions, and he gets 78 minutes, 80 minutes.
Yeah, roughly.
That's pretty good. He had to call the Ange to get him off the fucking field, but because
all Ange had was Brian Hill to put in, right?
Yeah, well, we could talk about that bench if you want, but holy fuck.
Mike, I'm curious. I'm just flashing back. I feel like when the Werner news, when it first popped, I think if I'm wrong, correct me. I think your reaction was like, "What are we doing?" You know, it was something like that.
because he
Are
can't fucking finish.
Yeah, so like, do you see that differently? Like, do you see value to him,
No, I
or
think I said it last week. There is value in him, basically because all we're doing is paying his salary for
Yeah,
six
low risk.
months.
Mhm. Right?
Low risk,
Very low
absolutely
risk.
low risk,
Yep.
and it's high reward. We need somebody who can provide cover for Sonny when he's gone and when he's injured or tired. Um, and he's kind of a similar player to Sonny, without the finishing, right? Like,
Hmm.
he does have speed. He's not necessarily going to be a one-on-one guy. You know, he's not gonna beat anybody off the dribble. And I wish he would. Um, and the same goes for the guy on the right side who played on the right side too, like Brennan Johnson, another guy. He's got a lot of speed. I don't think he's got a whole shitload of confidence right now. Another guy that I wish would just take somebody on because he's got speed, he's got moves, he's got skill. You saw that like crazy fucking rainbow that he
Yeah,
almost fucking pulled off, right?
Hmm.
yeah, that was sick.
So yeah, I mean, that was like a prime deli, kind of move, in traffic. So he's probably got that in his locker. He's just lacking the confidence to take somebody on.
We'll get
Um,
there.
that's cool with Brennan because he's really, really young. But with Timo, um, maybe Ange is going to unlock something like that, in him. You never know. I'm not terribly against him being a squad player, even moving forward. If the bill's going to be what 15 million, 17 million, depending on what currency you're using. um, but I really want to talk about the real hero in this game,
Which
and
one?
that's Richarlison.
He had a good game.
Uh, holy shit! Probably his best game in a Spurs uniform. Um, this guy was popping up all over the place. He was popping up in defensive positions. He was popping up in the fucking midfield. Uh, he was intercepting balls. I mean, he actually put in a couple of really nice tackles. Um, he provided cover when was that him? No, that was Bentancur who provided cover when Van de Ven had his one real kind of boner. But I mean, Richie was just absolutely everywhere. Um, and it wasn't just a situation where, I said in the past, he's a try hard. He was actually out there giving everything, uh, and and doing a job because he knew that he had to provide a lot of cover for that midfield, which, let's face it, was a less than desirable midfield, right? Less
Skip
than
and Hoybier
desirable.
on the same pitch.
Yeah. Well, it was the Skip and Hoybier, quote unquote pivot. Um,
Did you guys notice Skip, especially in the early minutes of the game, like running like a madman, pressing high, like just almost out of position with just how aggressive he was
Yeah, he was a
up
bit
high on the pitch.
frantic.
He was right. And
he
I was
was
thinking,
he
like,
was
was he
terribly
directed to
frantic,
do
and
that? Like, why was he being like that? And then I said the
I
same
think
thing
he was
about.
terribly frantic, and I think it was to his detriment in the first half. I think his second half he really kind of grew into the game and he turned it around a little bit, and I think he was actually decent enough in the second half. Again, Pedro Porro was
Yes.
fucking outstanding. He did get beat a couple of times. I feel like he hasn't necessarily been figured out, but I think if somebody can beat him, you know, beat him to the end line, then you know he kind of lacks that composure to stay with the man. Um, but there's not many guys in the league that will be able to do that because of his speed, because of his ability to just turn the jets on. Um,
And his deliveries from
and
set.
there's one guy that was able to beat him, and it's Rashford. And like we all know the quality that Rashford brings, and I cannot believe that man you almost lost complete faith in Rashford because this guy was the only thing holding that team together yesterday, and you saw that when he went off. I mean, that dude is total quality, and he's a classy human being, and it's too bad that he has to play for that shit
You know,
club with
I
that shit manager. And I can't believe
Credit
that we
where it's
wanted Ten
due.
Hag.
Ganacho actually was one of the first people to indicate that Van de Ven had an issue and was
Yeah,
signaling to try to get things off.
and he helped
So
him
as
out.
much
Like
as he
helped him
looks,
stretch his cramp and everything, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
credit where it's due. He's one that I was honestly a little bit shocked. I guess I haven't seen a lot of him play, but it's always nice when you've got a opposition player who recognizes, hey, there's a problem. Like, let's do something about it. Unlike Fernandez, who waited until we were on a counterattack
Yeah.
before he's like, oh, but your player is injured. It's like you didn't care when you still had the chance to, make something of it. But
I was just surprised Garnacho was able to crawl out of Destiny's pocket
yeah.
to be able to go help out because he got served, man.
Um,
Destiny was all over that guy.
yeah, and Destiny again, he wasn't feeling well. Skippy wasn't feeling well. Destiny had a couple of rough patches. The but let's talk about Richie's goal because there's two things going on there. I mean, it was a finish that the previous center forward, that we saw from the previous center forward, right? Like
Yeah.
Florida man.
that type of HK10.
Eric Dyer's teammate.
Eric Dyer's
Eric
teammate.
Dyer's teammate. Yes.
That it was that type of a finish. It was that much quality, and I just really want to thank whoever the center back was. That was I'm not positive. I think it was Veron who was holding Mickey Van de Ven down onto the ground, because if Mickey had jumped up at the same time,
He would have gotten more height.
he would have gotten more height, and maybe
Yep.
that ball doesn't go in because
Yeah.
Richie knew how to direct that ball, being a pure striker the way he is. And the other piece of that goal was the stuff that Ange gave full credit to Ryan Mason on,
Yes.
and that was the setup on these offensive set pieces that and these plays that Ryan Mason is coming up with. And
Yeah, I didn't know that he was doing and similarly, I didn't know that Jedinak was doing the defensive set pieces.
right, so I mean that's where we were kind of lacking last season, like, and even the season before, it was defensive set pieces, and I think we're doing much better this year. We haven't scored a ton on set pieces this year, but I think it's starting to come together, and you know every single bit of Richie's mentality and that kind of stuff is showing now, because he's finally fully fit. He's finally in the right mental space, and he's been very vocal about his seeking help for that. So he's in a good mental space right now. He's got 7 Premier League goals, which is more than any other Arsenal player.
Yes, it is.
Suck it.
It's more than those two fucking knuckleheads combined that were calling him out on their podcast.
Yep.
We're not even gonna mention them again, but like, so I was telling, I had mentioned maybe in our chat that our 3 primary center forward or forwards this year together have 24 goals.
Yep.
And the 5 primary men who have played up front for Arsenal this year have less than Son and Richie combined. I think that tells you something. I think that it's not just I'm not just saying that as a one up. I'm saying that because it's not really, Tottenham hasn't been thought upon as that team that's going to just destroy you, offensively in the past. And everybody talks about Martinelli. Everybody talks about Saka and the relentless Arsenal attack. And I think now the tides are starting to turn and people are seeing what's happening. People are finally, like, even Gary Neville is coming out and saying the Spurs team has a chance to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
It's almost comical when you start to hear those guys say things.
Now, there's
about it.
one more player And I'm sure that there's a question that we have to ask, a very important one, but there's one more player that I want to highlight for all the wrong reasons, and that's Onana,
Oh,
who
Nana,
who
what's
Classy
your name?
managed to
name.
get his international duty delayed specifically so he can play in this game.
And
And
then he got stuck, right?
yeah,
Got stuck at
it's
the
like
airport.
great, you did fuck all. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like I feel like this dude is just so full of himself. He reads into his own hype, sees that best goalkeeper in the league, but no, he's not by any stretch of the imagination. Like Spurs bias aside, he is not the best in the league. I refuse to accept that. I don't care if his statistics, paint this rosy picture. For me, I would take, Allison over him, obviously Vicario over him, Ederson when he's fit, Bert Leno, I would take over him. Like he's
Leno.
just
Wow.
yeah, I mean, but I just don't rate Onana highly at all. And I think some of the shit that he does, like delaying this international duty because he thinks that this is, the win that United are gonna need. You didn't fucking do anything, dude. Like you almost got beat by a bullet of a header from Romero at point blank. Like, come on. You're not coming up to claim anything. You look like you've got cement in your shoes. You're just not as good as you think you are.
Did you
Oh,
see the fear in
Nana.
his eyes when Bentaker shot that ball?
Yes.
He just threw his arm up and was like, shit.
Hey, I think it's
But yes,
time.
thank you for missing out on international and ensuring that we came away with at least a point.
Bingo. I think it's time, Steve, that we ask a really important question. What do you say?
Yeah, and Dave, I do believe it's your turn to ask the
I
question
think
this
I might
week.
be
Oh
up.
boy.
Mike, I
We have
I have been
turns?
I've been wondering,
We try to keep things fair
as this
here.
first month of the year goes along, and you are under a lifestyle I don't know what we call it, jaunt, if you will. Wonder what you're up to. So specifically, I want to know, hey Mike, what are you drinking?
Oh, Dave. Oh, Dave. We all know I am still in the dry January, and I am Captain's Log. Ooh, 1:15:24. 15 days into it,
You're
almost
40,
halfway.
49% through. Way to go, buddy.
49,
Way to go.
almost halfway through. And I've made it longer than I ever have in dry January.
That's
I've tried
good.
a number of times. But today I decided to
Gotta
go.
say, the severed finger would have knocked me off the wagon personally. I would have said, screw it. Next year, I'm gonna get him.
You know what I told Amy, we're in the emergency room. I looked right out. I said, boy, I picked the wrong month to quit drinking.
Darn right.
What was the line? I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue
Yeah.
from Airplane. Looks like I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. So what I've got today, I decided to go a little macro. Not a lot macro, but a
O'Doul's
little
Oh
macro.
man.
No, not old duels, but that would have been cool.
caliber.
There wasn't any caliber. There was no caliber. There's no Klosterhaler. But
No
I do
class.
have this, and I didn't
Bud
look
Bud
into it at all.
NA.
Stella Artois
Stella Artois.
Liberté.
Really? I didn't even know that there was such a thing.
Yeah.
Stella Liberté. Well, I'm curious here. I'm curious how this is gonna
0%
go.
alcohol. It's got a shitload of protein in it. Wow.
There's a
Only
whole
50,
cow in there.
59 calories. So since I have that Stella, I have my Stella glass.
Look at you, very fancy.
Ooh.
Stella, we've got a sponsorship open. Just saying.
We do.
Stella.
Hey, Stella.
All right.
Hey Steve, while Mike's doing the crack in the pour,
Ooh, it smells like a Stella. This is
Okay.
gonna be fun.
I got my weekly joke for you, Steve. Are you ready for it?
Excellent. Yes.
Oh God, I have a
bring
joke
it.
too. I have a joke. Can I tell a joke
You have
later?
one? All right, yeah, absolutely. So here you go.
I am a
Steve,
joke. Is
Steve,
that
this is
good
specifically
enough?
for you. We're staying on the theme. You talked about the Echo Aquarium. I told you the octopus
Yeah.
reference earlier. This is an octopus joke. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
I don't know, Dave. How many tickles does it take to
Well,
make an
Steve,
octopus laugh?
It's a really simple answer. The number of tickles it takes to make an octopus laugh is 10 tickles. You can use that with the little fella, man. I think he might actually enjoy that one.
I believe he will,
Yeah,
especially when I go in for the tickles myself and make him
there,
laugh.
there you have it.
He will
Yep.
laugh one way or another.
That was the dad joke of the week. You guys are welcome. Mike, you want to do yours now, or you want to save it for
I'll
later?
do now. I'll do
All
now.
right, let's hear it.
Oh,
Um, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait.
All right, then let's hear about your beer, or let us see it. By
Yeah.
the way. What are we
So
dealing with
this,
here?
yeah, it looks like a Stella. It
Yep.
smells just like a Stella. Let's just hope it tastes like a Stella. Uh, we could be in for quite the treat here, and again, it does have a lot of carbs as it being a NA beer, but man, this is exciting.
here he goes, folks. He's drinking, he's drinking, he's drinking, he's savoring, he's thinking. There's my play-by-play.
He's drinking. He's
Brought to you by Stella.
he's savoring. He's thinking. What do you think?
I
And-
like it.
You like it?
Oh,
Like it. All right.
It's so
so it's at least a 1.
um I think it's at least a 3, Steve. If I
Oh no,
like
we're
it.
yes.
So it looks, it smells, it's bubbly. It doesn't have any other characteristics that a regular Stella with alcohol doesn't have. It's pretty close to the taste. Stella sometimes has that little skunky taste, the kind of skunky. That's usually because of the green bottles,
right.
the way the light reacts with it. But it does have a little bit sweeter, maltier taste to it. So it's a little bit heavier, but not terribly so. I really kind of like it. Stella's one of those beers where you see somebody with like the Stella glass at the bar, you're like, you know what? I'll have a Stella too. Because it's the gold rim on the glass, and it's got the
I'll
marketing
have
crest.
a Sam Jackson.
You know what? I will too. Bitch. It'll get you drunk.
Good. We're on the same page.
All right. I really like it. I'm probably gonna have another.
Wow. Hey,
maybe
very nice.
maybe with the second football game tonight.
Look at Mike. He's happy. I think if you're just listening, you can't see this, but Mike is happy drinking an NA beer. I'm really.
And what's
intrigued by this.
what's even better about all this is that I'm on no prescription medication for the pain. Nothing.
Perfect.
No, not even any now legal medication for the pain.
And
Yeah,
the
I'm
real best
clear-headed.
part-
I'm clear-headed. I feel great about this.
The
I
real
really
best
like
part,
this beer.
though,
You know what they say, Mike?
Dallas lost.
Yeah, true. Clear
Yeah,
eyes, full
yeah.
hearts can't lose, right, buddy?
That's right. That's right.
Tell that to
Friday Night
Dallas.
Lights.
How about a Radium, man? What do you got for us?
Let's give this 3.7.
It's so dialed in, Steve, right?
Yeah.
Steve 3.6, me 3.8, Mike. Way to thread the needle with the odd number tonight. You did it.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, it 100% is. But hey, that's good, man. That's pretty good for an NA beer. You're approaching like, I really like this range. That's
No,
pretty good.
dude, if that were a beer with alcohol, I would drink that. I would drink that all day, man.
Now, would you? Okay, so I know you're not drinking it right now, but would you give a normal Stella a 3.7, or would it be lower because it's Stella?
No, I really like Stella. Like if I had to, you have those kind of like the Heinekens, the Stellas, like
The beers that used to be fancy when you're younger, and now you're just like,
yeah, because they're like
actually not, but
$5 a 6-pack.
There's a fun nostalgia to them and their fanciness, right?
Yeah.
Like Rolling Rock, remember that one?
Dude, what are you talking about? Rolling Rock was fucking great, dude.
Disgusting.
It was young fancy beer, is what Rolling Rock was.
It was, yeah.
Well, these days it sucks ass.
So yeah, I really like this beer. I'm gonna have another.
All right.
So
how about a song? Got a song?
yeah, let's do since I want to have another later, I'm gonna do ABBA. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Ooh,
Oh, all right. How about that? Well done.
aka the Decky song.
Nice.
Indeed.
Very nice. Mike, you want to go to your joke yet, or are you still holding that for later?
I'm gonna hold it for later.
All right. Let's move on then, boys.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
How do we feel as we look ahead? Steve, let's go to you. What's your assessment of the road ahead?
All right, so first things first, I just have to say the way that this match week is set up bothers the hell out of me
Why is that?
because it technically takes place across 2 weekends. Like, technically speaking, we are halfway through the match week. There's still a bunch of teams that need to play. It blows, but we've got FA Cup is, I guess, the reason, right? So what a pain. FA Cup coming up, Manchester City, at least we're at home where they tend to have difficulties. And it's at the end of January where we potentially have a much more integrated set of new players. We potentially have Madison back to do what he does best. Our midfield is still going to be a little bit curious, I guess, since it's going to be one of Skipper Hoiberg that slots in next to Bentancur, I'm sure. Although I would not mind having like a Bentancur, Madison, Decky trio in there to just go fucking absolutely nuts. But there's just no real like defensive spine there. So I'm sure we'll get more of a typical holding style player in there in some capacity. But no, just having Madison back could be huge if he is fit and available. Richarlison's in fine form. I like what he's doing. I like the options that we tend to have. Werner Johnson. We could potentially play a Decky out wide. We could potentially play. Well, let's be real. We're not going to play Hill because he is, if anything, just a sub player.
Probably on his way out the door too.
Yeah, he's got to be. He's got
Do
to
you
be.
think it would be? Do you think it would be more intelligent? Excuse me. When Decky comes back, to kind of give Johnson a little bit of a rest. I
I think
just
so.
yeah. So
Especially if
Kind of
Madison's back.
the kind of the Sunny approach from
I'm
a couple
more
years ago, right?
I'm more eager to see Decky. Yeah, even if especially if Madison's back, moving out to the right, and possibly giving the sub role to Brennan when he comes in, like somebody with that pace just running at tired legs.
I
Like
like Decky's son
Absolutely.
Werner and Madison on the pitch at the same time. I like
that would be, I think that would be fucking great. But you also have to keep keep Richie in there.
Now,
Richie
the
has to be in there because
But does he? I
yeah,
mean,
he
is
does.
he
he's been
is he
doing
playing?
well.
He
Dude, he's
has
got
been doing
6 goals
well,
in 6 games, man.
Now, the scary
but
thing
Son would
though,
have had those goals.
that's true.
Nah, I don't know.
He wouldn't have scored the header, that's for sure.
He
No, not
definitely
the
wouldn't have
header.
scored the header. And I honestly am not sure Sonny was in the right playing
He's getting
form
his
at the
ass
time.
kicked in Asia right now. I don't know if you saw some of the tackles he was on the receiving end of.
Yeah,
No,
I
I haven't
mean,
seen that.
they teams know that like they kick at his fucking ankles all game that he's going to get off of his game, and I think that he was a little bit injured when he left, and he hadn't been playing his best ball when he left. Granted, he does have 12 goals, but
Could be better.
I think that Richie is in a spot right now where you can't not play him.
Absolutely. Now, the downside is that City have De Bruyne back, which that makes them much, much more dangerous.
Right.
I mean, look at what he did when he came on versus Newcastle. He just turned that around. Um, Granted, Newcastle also kind of shit the bed a little bit, but hey, having somebody like De Bruyne orchestrating from midfield is going to make things much more challenging, especially if we don't have our ideal midfield options available. Like if we roll out the same Bentancur, Skip, Hoiberg midfield to go up against Rodri, De Bruyne, and whoever the fuck else City wants to play there,
Yeah, we're in
I'm not
trouble.
feeling good about that at
Yeah.
all.
When is Madison slated to come back? Do we know?
I don't know. FOMOB said soon.
I keep hearing that it's like imminent. Like he wants to. He's another one who wants to get in, who wants to be back, and is like pushing to make his return. There's suggestion that he could be back for FA Cup, but well, I guess only time will tell, right?
But it's like that's 12 days away, right? Like to your point, Steve, there's no weekend game for us this week, correct? And the FA Cup is the
No, it's just the
26th.
26th. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So
we have a
we got
game
that.
5 days later.
Yeah. So we got that going for us.
we do.
We
Yes,
do, indeed.
doesn't make it any easier.
No, sir. How about you,
But
Mike?
a lot can happen in 12 days. We'll just have to wait and see. I do feel like I don't know. This is a game that could go either way. Really, like I'm not entirely worried about De Bruyne. I am, but at the same time, I know that especially over the last few games with all of the shit that Spurs have gone through with illnesses and injuries and suspensions and players playing out of position and being asked to come back in sooner than maybe they should. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of character on the team, and I have belief in them in a way that, like, if this was, Conte ball going into City with the injuries and illnesses, I think De Bruyne coming back is just going to spell doom. But now, I truly believe we can compete, and especially because we've been, City's sort of bogey team for a little while now. I'm really hopeful that we can get the result and advance in the cup. But it's like we've been saying, if you want to win the cup, you got to beat the best at some points. Might as well just do it now and get it out of the way with, or get knocked out now, and then one less thing for us to worry about. We can focus solely on league dominance.
I don't think it would by any stretch of the imagination it would be good if we got knocked out. I think
No, I'm not saying it would. I'm just saying if if you're going to play City
I
and
think
it's
it's
not
a
going to be in the final,
it's a big fucking deal if we do get knocked out. And I think even with De Bruyne back, and it makes them a lot more dangerous. I think that and I don't want to push Madison back any quicker than he should be back. Footmob actually now says a few days. So I really think that I really think that if Madison is back for that match, Van de Ven is back in getting healthier and healthier. We have Timo with a few more training sessions under his belt. We didn't even speak about the Romanian Dragon. You know,
Paul Dragu.
he actually played pretty well for his little brief cameo. He did have a header clearance, which is part of his game because he played in that system in Italy where they're kind of like pack the box, park the bus type of a.
Hold
You
on,
look
though,
like
Mike.
you
Hold on. You're going on a bird walk. I want you to go back to. You said it's a really big deal if we get knocked out. I want you to talk more about that.
No, this is my point. I'm making my point. It's just I'm taking a long walk around.
All right. Well, come back to the house, man.
It's
So
fucking
no,
cold.
no,
Like,
no,
let's
no.
move it.
So the point that no, I guess the point is that we have all these players that that are able to get the job done and should be able to get the job done. And whether De Bruyne is back or not, I think Spurs have are in a unique position where we're going to have all of our big players healthy. Um, so do we push Madison back or not? So that's the question, I guess. But if we do lose, I think it really puts a dent into the mentality of some of the players that are left here. Um,
It depends on the manner of the loss. Like if
okay,
they if it's
Yeah.
if it's a fucking scorcher of a game, everybody's playing their hearts out, and it's just an unlucky loss. Like
It's a 3-2 loss, right?
I
Something like
think
that.
they can hold their heads. If we get completely blown out, then absolutely you got to question the mentality. But I don't think if they fight and it just doesn't happen for whatever reason, we hit the crossbar 30 times, just can't get it in. Like
it's
as
gonna
long as
throw
they fight,
that is gonna throw some. I still think that whether it's a close loss or it's a blowout, it's going to throw some doubt into people's heads, and it's not just going to
Who
be.
though? Who?
It's going to be the talking heads, and it's going to and it might
So they don't play
actually
for Spurs.
and it might actually it doesn't matter. It might actually that stuff gets back to the players. You don't think that shit affects the players when they lose a game like that? When they when they're
Talking
in
heads
the
talk against Spurs all the freaking time. So I mean, it's just
but
par
do
for the
you
course.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when they lose a game like that. When they
Like they
lose a
lost to
game
Brighton.
that they feel they can win or is easily winnable, especially being at home, especially the fact that Spurs have had their number for years and years. Pep's never won it at the stadium. Like these are the things that can get into a player's mind. I think it would be a big deal. I really do. This is the team that can actually go out and make a run into the cup, and I think they can win it. But they have to be able to win this game, and it's not like they're going to have that easy path. They're not playing a bunch of fucking League Two teams or National League teams like some other Premier League teams get to do. You
Yeah,
know,
here's
and
my take, Mike.
this is a tournament that is a. It's not just we don't. You're dismissing all of it because we're Americans watching this game.
Wrong, totally wrong,
We are.
totally wrong. Well,
We
yeah,
do.
that is true. We are Americans watching this game, but
No, but we're dismissing it because of that.
here's my take, Mike, and do with this what you will. I hope we can agree that when players are out for a long period of time, it's more common that they come back rusty and struggling a little bit than firing on all cylinders. So let's prepare for that, even if Madison plays. We saw with Van de Ven, right? Committed a couple boners, but then cramped up at the back end and was struggling and needed to be replaced. I'm excited about Dragusin, but he's new to the Prem. He's played 12 minutes, I think, in a Premier League match. Like we can't say that he's going to be ready to make a significant impact. I think if we're going to beat somebody, it's going to be Man City. It is 2 weeks away, but it's not game. There's no games there. They're not playing full scrimmages in practice where they're going a full 90 plus and burning the crap out of guys, So to me, it's a classic case of even if we crash out, and I don't want that to happen. I'd love to see us win a cup. That'd be cool. And I am an American watching this, but if we don't have the burden with the thin squad we have, unless we're going to pick up Gallagher, pick up Phillips, like get some more midfield backup, we're still missing our AFCON guys. We're still missing Sonny. Like with these guys who are gone, if we lose and don't have the obligation of continuing to play in the cup, it's just more time for people to recuperate and be ready for weekend matches. That's my take on the whole thing.
That's the problem. That's the problem with Tottenham Hotspur over the years is that we and they allow these excuses to creep in. And it changes.
But if you're making excuses,
the
Man
mentality.
City and a thin squad are two pretty damn good excuses.
We always say that shit though. We always say that shit.
But Mike,
we got guys that are injured.
We're not in that same world, Mike.
It's it's just
it's a different world now. It's a different world.
At some point, the excuses have to stop. And that shit creeps into the locker rooms.
And you think Ange is going to let that happen?
Oh, it's going to be fine because now we can focus on this. Well, I'm not okay with that anymore. And I think that the players feel the same way. That shit can creep into the locker room.
So, but if the players feel the same way and they're not okay with it anymore, that's going to motivate them. It's not going to depress them.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. You never know. You don't know what's going to happen.
And if it depresses them, maybe we don't want.
But the other thing is like we're just a couple of fucking schmoes sitting here talking on the internet. We don't know what the fuck is going on. But I think it is a big deal. I think it is a big deal if they don't make a run at this. They just got dealt Man City versus fucking Bristol City.
Vermont Green FC.
Whoever takes on Vermont Green FC is going to have a real fucking problem in the U.S. Open Cup.
Speaking of the word green, you guys see
especially if they have to play here in March.
You see Troy Deeney, who I always like Troy Deeney. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's coaching or managing Forest Green Rovers now. Have you guys seen that? League Two.
Is he really?
And Like he's just dragging his players. Like they've gone out and lost games repeatedly, and he's just basically saying everybody sucks. It's rather interesting.
They do fucking suck.
Worth looking up.
They're gonna get relegated into. They're gonna be out of the league.
They're like yeah, they are. And that's do they go to National League?
They'll
from
go to
League Two?
National League. Yeah, they're
Ooh,
they're
that's
gonna go
rough.
to. They're gonna be
That's rough.
Wrexham.
Yeah, that's really rough. They're like philosophically, they're the Vermont Green of
Yeah, that's a
English
big
football,
deal,
right?
They're
Yeah,
the other thing is that they're also fully vegan.
fully.
Yeah.
Even like all the food served at the stadium and everything.
Yep.
Oh,
Everything.
that's really interesting.
That explains the
They're
relegation.
Yeah,
the
no wonder
new
they're
stadium
losing.
that they're
Jeez,
proposing to
skill up.
build is like 100% renewable, like everything.
That's cool. I'm good.
I
with
like
that.
I like the mission, and I like all of that goes into it, but at a point, like,
Sometimes you need a little chicken. Let's just be honest.
You know,
fucking A, man, you need some chicken.
I heard that stadium they want to build is actually made of those compostable straws.
That's where they put them.
Oh yeah. Hey, reduce, reuse, recycle. They're going to
They
take those
don't
compostable straws and build a
put them
stadium.
there. When you get those compostable straws, they compost before you finish your fucking
That's
drink.
true. Yeah, they saturate. I can
Yeah,
say
so let's hope it
firsthand.
doesn't rain in England.
I was in the car yesterday.
You're drinking little tiny bits of cardboard.
I was in the car yesterday. I picked up actually had to take Nate, our son, up to Burlington back to school. So I the timing didn't work out. I wasn't able to stop by the watch session, but stopped at the McDonald's in Burger King in South Burlington, picked up a large Diet Coke, because every once in a while a fountain drink Diet Coke tastes good. I'm gonna say it for the internet. We're looking for sponsorship for soda, if anybody with the Coke company wants to join us with that. But no lie, by the time I'm in Middlebury, which is like less than an hour away, I'm drinking out of like a mushy cardboard mess that is actually cutting off the flow of poisonous soda to my body.
There's nothing wrong with poisonous soda, David.
It does taste really good when it's cold and
And as
fresh
soon
off
as
the
you got
taps.
home, you found a sea turtle and you punched it to death, right?
It did, right? Yep.
Just
Damn
out
right.
of spite.
How does that
Yes.
one fucking sea turtle find that goddamn one plastic straw to go straight up its nose? I think there was only one sea turtle
quit
that it's ever
sniffing
happened.
straws. That's what I would say to the sea
Yeah,
turtles,
there's
right?
only one sea turtle that's ever happened to.
Right.
And frankly, it's only because
And now
the
there's a whole
turtle was doing
campaign
coke.
Ruined it for the rest of us.
I am having another one of those beers.
Beers.
Very good, boys. What else we want to talk about? I guess we're getting to closing thoughts actually when I look at the time and where we are. How about we
I can't wait to
hit
listen to
up
this
closing
back
thoughts?
and hear my nonsense rant.
Oh, you're good. This is
Just
this is
blame it
sober
on the
January, Mike. You're good to go.
alcohol.
Mike, but I've been asking you multiple times since we're closing thoughts. I think it's time that you share whatever joke you've had on your mind. Our listeners deserve it. Or was your joke saying that you were going to be mad if we crashed out of the FA Cup? Was that your joke? Is that what you were saying?
JK guys.
You're a joke, Dave.
Thank
No,
you.
I'm the joke. We've established that.
Okay. You're not gonna like this.
I'm gonna love it. You can't tell me what to do.
So
You're not my real dad.
Don't tell me how to feel.
There are two Egyptians, and they're sitting there.
Oh God, we're gonna get canceled.
Jeez, man, you're going racial, like ethnic
Yeah.
groups already.
Yeah,
Are they in a bar? Is there
no?
a priest?
They're building the pyramids.
The pyramids.
In the hot sun, they're sitting there.
Was it
They
the
got their-
Egyptians who
their
built
one-
the
their
pyramids,
one
or was
water
it
break.
slaves?
I
and
thought
they
aliens built the pyramids.
Are you gonna let me tell
That's
this
it.
fucking joke?
Sorry, Steve and I were talking. I'm sorry. All right, back to you. Two Egyptians building pyramids, hot sun, time for a water break.
Right. So they're sitting there, and they both fart at the same time. One guy looks at the other and says, "Looks like we have a toot in common."
Ooh. That's a joke, Mike. That's a joke. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, man. What else you got for
damn it!
closing
Like
thoughts, buddy?
the build up for that, like, and you guys have to fucking ruin it almost. Boy, I have said the F word more than my share of times.
So we'll put a nickel in the jar.
You put a $5 bill in the jar.
The wicked Spursy swear jar.
The virtual swear jar.
That's how we pay for the wicked Spursy barbecue.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
What else you got, Mike? Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. I do think FA Cup's a big deal. I think this is the year to do it. I think that going forward, We got a lot of guys coming back. I think it's going to be an exciting time, and I think that we do beat Man City, and I think that we beat them 2-1. Um, and I think we finally have the last of the bees that we're taking care of, right? Brentford after that, um, at home. So, you know, the future's looking up. Guys are coming back. Even though we do have guys away at AFCON, we have guys away. We have Sonny gone to the Asia Cup, getting his ankles kicked out from underneath him. I think that I think that we're going to be in good shape going forward. Um, Everybody's going to be healthy and firing. Manor Solomon is going to come back. He's a little dribbly boy.
You couldn't let that go.
No, I can't. We're gonna have cover all over the place, and I think that we get through January. We keep having to say it, don't we? Let's just get through this month, and we're gonna be great. Let's just get through this month. We're gonna be great. People keep getting hurt. Chance that Phillips comes in. I think there's more of a chance that Phillips comes in than Gallagher. I don't think Gallagher really wants to come here. If that's not the case, you know, more power to us for having him. Um, I think squad depth's a real big thing going forward, and I'm just excited to see what happens next. I was pleased with the game this week, especially playing because let's face it, Old Trafford's not an easy place to play ever, no matter how bad that fucking team is over there, or how much of trouble they're in. Um, and the fact that we're able to do it with the squad that we had and that midfield that we had, man, things are looking up. Things are looking up. But I will reiterate, it is not okay if we go down in the FA Cup. Like, I'd rather go out like a lion than a lamb. Okay, let's just say that.
Or would you rather we go down in an earlier round?
No, it's never
We're
okay.
being like a lion.
It's never okay to lose a game. And I'm
Never okay to
done with
lose
that
a game.
mentality.
What if losing that game,
I'm done with the mentality.
what if our
It's a
losing a
loser
game
mentality, and
somehow
we're not
results in
losers.
Arsenal getting relegated? Is it okay to lose that game?
Yeah,
There we go. There we go.
as long as
All right.
Arsenal gets relegated.
See,
At the
we
end of it.
found common ground. That's all. That's
As
what
long
this
as Arsenal
podcast
gets
is
relegated
about.
at the end of it.
Steve, how about you? What are your closing thoughts? Thanks for sharing yours, Mike. What do you got, Steve?
My closing thoughts involve a very pointed rant at a very specific group of people.
Ooh, okay, here we go.
Oh,
So
and I was going to get us canceled.
I don't think we're going to get canceled.
Don't know
for
who he's
this.
going after here. I'm curious. Let's hear it.
I am going after creepy white dudes who comment on
And
women's
children.
Instagram posts the most asinine bullshit. Like,
What?
you know, so here's the thing.
First of
Over
all,
the last
those guys don't have the capacity to cancel. So let's establish
exactly
that. I'm not
exactly.
not
So I
worried
think
about
we're in the clear here. But over the last couple of days, what I've noticed with some of my women friends, you know, you'll get they'll share a post, maybe it's a workout post from the gym or something, some image of themselves enjoying an activity, and there's always some dude who has to make it creepy or sexual or like just it's harassment is what it is without fail. And I got to talking to quite a number of them because it was something that I just started to notice like a lot more this week than I ever really had before. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention because all of them pretty much said, yeah, that just happens. Like we're used to it. And that just doesn't sit well with me, like we're used to the harassment shouldn't be an excuse to just let it be. Um, so, I'm sort of putting this out as almost like a rallying cry, right? To all the other dudes out there who don't routinely sexually harass and objectify women. If you see that happening in your own social circles, call that shit out. That is not acceptable. If you got a buddy who thinks it's okay to make a pass at a waitress or something, or, whatever it might be, fucking tell them that is not good. That's not cool. It's not acceptable. And to fucking change their attitude. It's, fucking 2024. and we're still having these people behave like fucking, it just drives me nuts. It drives me so nuts that we can't be in a place as a society with how advanced and how interconnected we all are thanks to technology, that we just have these stupid, barbaric Neanderthal mindsets that for some reason society continues to forgive because, boys will be boys or whatever the fucking excuse is. And I'm just sick of it. I want us to get better as a society. I want us to hold each other accountable if we're using words, if we're going after people and it's making them uncomfortable. Look, and somebody's going to call me a snowflake and I don't give a shit, right? If you make somebody uncomfortable with your words and they tell you, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that. Could you please stop? And you keep doing it. You're a fucking asshole. It's not me being a snowflake. It's you being an asshole. So that's where I want to close things out with, because it's just incredibly frustrating. Like, it's not something I have to deal with as a man, but if other men are going to listen to this show, which I have to imagine is most of our demographic, hopefully somebody out there is like, you know what, my buddy fucking Chad is a complete douchebag to women. Maybe I should tell him to knock it off. Like, please do that, because
Steve has a buddy named Chad. I love that.
I used to work with a guy named Chad, and he was actually a really nice dude.
I was going to say, if your name's Chad, you're probably a douchebag.
That's what I thought when they hired him.
You probably wear pastel Izod shirts and you pop the collar.
Dude, ain't nothing wrong with that.
But yeah,
maybe tie a sweater around.
Don't hate on the 80s preppy. Let that go. Steve, but I have some interesting thoughts on what you just said, and I actually agree with everything you said, and I have a but to it.
Because Dave gets objectified on a daily basis.
I'm just used to being catcalled. It just happens, I just have to suck
Don't let it happen, Dave.
No, like it's really interesting to me just to kind of think about like why things happen, and so I cast no judgment at all here, and I hope that as I describe my thoughts, I don't come across as a cancel worthy douchebag, as you have just attributed. There are people deserving of cancellation. No, here's the thing, like. I'm of the firm belief, like you guys know, I don't do a lot of social media. I poke around Twitter for news. I stay off Facebook, don't even have an account. Just signed up for Instagram the other day so that I could see the notification that my son put out about his wedding that's going to occur next summer, right? Like that's where I am when it comes to social media. I don't have value for it. I don't care about what people think about stuff, and I don't care about how they feel about mine. About my thoughts, That said, like way back in the day, pre-social media, like let's go to the 70s and 80s when it didn't exist. If a woman walked down the street and was subjected to catcalls and harassment and, hey, mama, like all that woman would stop walking down that street. And I'm not saying that woman shouldn't. I'm not saying that women should have to stop walking down that street, but they would take that action to kind of avoid that dilemma and protect themselves. And the interesting thing to me is in a social media world, even when there's that harassment, when there's that threat, when there's that discomfort, people still go back there, right? Like you don't have to post your workout video. You don't have to share what you did in the gym while you're wearing, your gym clothes that is going to cause douchebags to say stupid things online. Now, it's totally wrong that the douchebags say it, but we also know that behavior A can result in behavior B. And like, that's what's interesting to me is the reward process for social media engagement is high enough that people are willing to be like, well, that's just how it is. And they're willing to put up with it as opposed to picking a different street to go down. And I realize like that's a complicated, weird statement I'm making, but
no,
like,
but
Dave,
it's
interesting.
It does, like, I get what you're saying too. And part of the reason that I'm leaving this as my closing thoughts is because I'm sort of sick of well, just go down another street if they're gonna catcall you. Like it boils down to just us, not even in an online presence, but in reality as well. The number of times that you hear, oh well, boys will be boys, or when I was coaching, and I would let the kids pick their teams. If I had a boy captain and a girl captain, boys always picked all boys. Like that's
Sure.
just the way it was.
Sure. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I asked him, what's the deal? You're picking worse players, frankly.
Because they're dudes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the mindset that I really think we need to start pushing people away from, because there's a lot of nuance these days. And frankly, there's a lot of nuance in the 70s and 80s too. It's just there was nobody to say, hey, stop fucking catcalling these people. You're a fucking pervert. Like,
Right. Right.
so here's me telling you, the online douchebags who think it's okay, you're a fucking pervert. Cut it out. Go outside, touch some grass, hug a tree, whatever you got to do. Um, but yeah, there it is.
Hey, appreciate it. Love you, Steve. Good stuff.
You too, Dave.
And the cat calls didn't get the attention that they do in social media, right? There's not as many eyes on it. There weren't as many ears on it. So it's a different environment altogether.
Indeed.
But yeah, well done. All right, boys. This has been Wicked Spursy. Nice job this week. We're ready to say goodbye to our loving and loyal listeners. Steve, if you were gonna make a final comment to people, what would you say?
Quiz.
And
Fittingly enough, don't be an asshole.
an asshole. Perfect. In any way, shape, or form. Michael, what kind of advice, as a person who barely held on to 10% of his digits this past week, what kind of advice would you give people?
If you're cleaning out your fucking fishbowl, a glass, anything like that, you got to just watch out, really pay attention to what you're doing, and be safe.
Don't drop the fishbowl, right?
Don't drop the fishbowl.
Don't drop the fishbowl. And is there one final thing you'd share?
Yeah. Tottenham Hotspur action. It's fantastic.
And if we lose Man City, it's the end of the world.